Hi, everybody. Anthony Burrows here, and I'm your host for Life and Finances with Sacrifice and Service. Now, today I want to talk to you about taking control of your money. Taking control of your money. Most persons, in fact, we know that 90% of Bahamians who are working and have been working for 10 or more years don't have $1,000 saved in the bank, which is a travesty. And the thing is, you find that most of us are in situations where our money dictate and control us and tell us where it wants to go, as opposed to it being the other way around. Many of us living from paycheck to paycheck. Several days after payday, we are flat broke and we're hustling and scrapping and scraping. Now, are you one of those persons? When each and every payday come around, you simply calculate in your head how much you're getting, and then you say, oh, this can go here, that's going to go there, and all of that. You have your budget in your brain instead of having a budget that's either you have it written out on a piece of paper or typed out on your computer. Now, I can remember many years ago when I was, probably 17, 18 years old, and I got my first job working at Bacardi as a welder helper. And one of the things was that I think I was making $135 a week at the time. Of course, you had no responsibilities living at home, and my parents didn't request that I contribute to the household. But you had a situation where I would draw my pay. I think it would be every Thursday in those days. I would draw my pay, and basically I'd put up maybe 80% of it, and then I would keep the other bit and say, well, okay, this is going to be mainly for partying, entertainment, and what have you. And then the 80% was for whatever. But the thing is, in my situation, that was still not the best way. Now, even though I saved 80% of the income, but that's still not the best way to go about it, just having things in your head. Sure, I had a goal and a destination at the time, but it's still not the best way to go about it. Then you have those persons out there who actually write out a budget, right? With the view of squeezing their their earned income, their salary into the budget. So they write out the budget, and for them, the budget is basically just a consumption budget. And the consumption meaning is that you're taking and just taking everything in and not really producing, growing, or anything like that. So you're just setting up a budget, and the budget is simply to consume goods, services, and products. Now, the budget slash money is in control of them instead of the other way around. Now, bear in mind that only 10% of adults actually write out a budget. 10% of adults actually write out a budget. Therefore, that means now 90% of people don't prepare a budget in any way, shape, or form. Many persons, payday come and they just go there and draw everything off that's left, and then they just fiddle it out here, there, and everywhere until it's gone, and then they repeat that cycle again for the next payday. Now, for that 10%ers who actually prepare a budget, it's said that 9 out of the 10%, when they prepare the budget, it's an inadequate budget that they prepare. You see, they're in a situation where the money run them as opposed to them running the money. And then here's what I've always said, and if you've been listening to me over the months, you'd know I always say this: handle your money as if you're running a corporation. So you have John Doe or Susie Doe or whatever, you are in a situation where you are a corporation. Yes, you're BTC, BPL, Aquapure, whatever, Super Value, whatever corporation. Now, here are how many persons, those 9% of 9%ers out the 10%, how they may prepare a budget. Okay, they prepare a budget maybe the day before payday or that morning of payday. And here's how they'll put it. Okay, they'll put, some may write the month on it and then how much they're taking in, but majority just get a blank piece of paper. That's those who are writing out a budget, which is still better than nothing. And they'll put on it, okay, you see car payment, then the dollar amount allocated for that. Then you got mortgage slash rent payment, the dollar amount allocated for that. Then they got utilities, which of course is your light, your water, your cable, phone, cell, internet, all those things that go with that. Maybe your cooking gas, the different things that go with that. Then they will have, okay, school fees, the dollar amount allocated for that. Eating out, the dollar amount allocated for that. Entertainment, the dollar amount. And you have groceries, the dollar amount. Hair and nails, and then any other little miscellaneous. But the mistake they make is that they now fit the budget according to their salary, which means that if they're making $100, they are using the budget to consume $100. And that's the downside of it. That's not what a budget is meant to do. They are using it for consumption purposes as opposed for wealth building, wealth generation, preparation for the future and things like that. So what they're saying in their case is that that's a budget which says I'm covering all of my expenses. I'm using every penny. That's a zero-sum budget. There's nothing left over at the end of the day. And the thing is, there are no signs that they're planning for the future or making preparation for the next generation. Now, the budget serves several purposes, and I'll go through some of them. The first one is that it puts everything in your hands. You are in control of everything. That's the budget. You're directing it, right? Then it also prevents you from spending money that you don't have. Because by allocating things properly, you'll know what's coming in, what's going out, what's leaving and what's coming in. Then the next effective thing of a budget is that it teaches your children, your offsprings, discipline by your example. For instance, you writing it out on a paper the night before or typing it on your computer, laptop or whatever, right? And maybe one of the children will come to you and say, Mommy, Daddy, Auntie, Uncle, Grandpa, what are you doing? And then you can say to them, hey, I'm preparing my budget. Payday is next week, next month, or whatever, or tomorrow. And they'll see, well, okay. And then you can say, well, this is for that, this is for the next. And it gets them going so that when they become adults and they have a family, they will have at least a launching pad. So you'll be teaching discipline by example. Then the budget helps you to build your wealth. And by saying building wealth doesn't mean that you have to be a millionaire or whatever. All it's saying that you're growing your resources. Now, the next thing it helps your offsprings come back to them again, become independent when they get into adulthood. They'll not be in a situation where they got to be on your payroll and you have to include them in your budget straight on up to when you go into your grave. Then the significant thing with having a budget is that there's preparation for retirement, and which is extremely significant and most important as you prepare for your twilight years. Then having a budget gives you less stress and confusion. There's no concern as to, hey, oh goodness, where did the money go? Did I cover this? Did I cover that? Because you've gone through budgeting, you will have less stress and very little confusion. On top of that, you'll have a good night's sleep and you'll be a healthier individual. Then a major important item is that the budget helps you to prepare for emergencies. Oh man, so if the water heater busts, your car get a flat tire, the battery go in the car, something happen, any significant thing that'll impact your level of productivity or your family's productivity, you'll be able to deal with that emergency. Also, it helps you to plan and set your goals. So hey, this is what I wish to do in a year, 3 years, 5 years. And I always say, hey, have your 1 year plan, your 3 year plan, and your 5 year plan. And those are musts. Have those written out, 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year plans. Now, the average Bahamian, when you look at goal setting and budgeting, the average Bahamian watches about 10 hours per week of cable/television. Then they spend another 10 to 15 hours a week on social media when you look at it all. They listen and they watch 3 to 5 hours a week of talk radio, to, or especially the political type stuff. Now, for those who do actually budget, they spend anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes per month preparing a budget. Something that is so significant that's going to impact your future and other generations. You're putting in 15 to 20 minutes a month. Wow, you see the amount of hours they've spent Netflix and social media and all of that sort of stuff. Now, and the thing is, this 15 to 20 minutes they do on payday, either that morning or a few minutes the day before payday. See, people commit more time when selecting a tennis shoes, a dress for the special occasion, getting their hair done, guys getting their hair cut, ladies getting the nails and the other hairdo, or guys working on their cars. We somehow kind of have things kind of backwards, if you ask me. See, most people don't realize the severity of not planning or having a proper budget. Man, and you know what people always say, if you don't plan, then you're automatically planning to fail. Now, let's explore what a budget should really look like. Let's look at some things, what a budget should really look like when we think about it. Now, the first thing I always suggest is that you decide what your fiscal year will be. Well, let's look back again and remind ourselves what we say the budget doesn't look like, because they're going to have persons just indiscriminately put on a piece of paper or type up on their computer. They got car payment, the amount that's going to be due. Mortgage/rent, the amount that's going to be due. Then the loan payments, the amount that's due. Utilities, again, phone, water, light, cable, all of that. School fees, that's if they elect to have their children in private school. Entertainment, grocery, hair and nails, clothing. Persons will have insurance. You see, again, they are matching the budget with the income. So they just simply expanding or so-called exhausting their full earned income. Now let's go now to what the actual budget should look like. Again, I was saying, first thing you must have on the top is the total income. You have the total income, either for the month, if you're doing it on a monthly basis. I suggest that you do it for the year. What you do is you sit down to your computer, your laptop, or on a piece of paper and write out your budget for 1 year, your annual budget. And all you do is you put out all the items and then you allocate annually how much you should be there for the whole year, and then you go forward from there. But anyhow, let's look at if it's a month. You put at the top total income, right? Then the other, you set 3 columns. One column is going to have items. That's the things that you're going to be putting in. The next column is going to be assets. The next column is going to be liabilities. And then you can put on the end, if you so desire, net worth when you subtract assets from liabilities. But that's not necessary in this instance, but it's something to consider. Now, the first thing, as I was saying, you do this at the beginning of the year, right? And the 4 most important things in a budget, is first, savings, tithing, investing, and then giving/helping others. So with that in mind, here we go. First thing should be on there under the items column is savings. And then on the asset, that'll go in the asset column, being for, you put in a dollar amount, but that can be anywhere from 5 to 10%. That's savings, and that's something you stick whether in the bank, credit union, wherever you want to set it, with the idea with it that it's going to be liquid, in a liquid form, that if there is an emergency, you can access it easily. Okay, so savings, but that's preparing also for your future. Then there's tithing. That's also in the asset column. And then you put the dollar amount. Well, it's debatable if it's an asset or a liability. Most Christians, I think, consider an asset. But when you're looking at, some person may consider it a liability because you're not getting an actual dollar amount, ROI on it, a return on investment, so to speak. But I place it in the asset column. Then invest under tithing, we know, is 10%. Then investing, you put that also in the asset column, and that's usually between 5 and 10%. So between savings, tithing, and investing, you can be anywhere from 5, 10, it could be up from 25 to 35%. Then we're looking at the giving, which is giving to persons, so whatever charitable organization, because you have people around you, maybe Ranfley Home, Children Emergency Hostel, some of these feeding sites and centers where you now have, especially that where persons have been so severely impacted with Dorian and with COVID-19. Then we come down to persons. If you're paying rent, you have your rent, the dollar amount, but that goes into liabilities column because that's not going to turn up in your pocket in any way, shape, or form. Then mortgage, that goes in the asset column because their home, it will increase in value over a period of time. But the idea is that this is one of the things that will help you build wealth and find financial freedom. Now, those who are paying the mortgage may not get the experience from the structure or the property that you would want, but the next generation, they're the ones who will benefit from it. And as a Bahamian, because of the shortage of land that we have, and then given that so many foreigners are consuming all of our land and resources, I say to every Bahamian who can purchase land, purchase a home, build a home, do that. And the next item, we have utilities. That goes, of course, that's a recurring expense. That's in the liabilities column. Insurance, put your dollar amount, that's in the asset column because in the event of a catastrophe, the insurance would keep you and put you back to new. Education, this is, instead of writing out school fees, I put it as education. The dollar amount, that goes in the asset column. And I can think of the value of an education. I'm not one who support the regular structure of education, but I look at the education that I got in the public school system, and then I look at my son, all of my children actually went through the private school system. But when I look at my son, who is last child in the private school system, and I look at his exposure and his level of education compared to when I was in school and what he's been exposed to, especially in terms of knowing and learning about his own country. I learned nothing about my country in junior high and high school. Nothing. So that's something you have to look at. Then, of course, groceries. And with groceries, I put that in the asset column because that's towards the health and the well-being of your family. Further part on education is that education is to prepare the next generation in terms of being able to access opportunities and jobs and all of that sort. But the things that you learn like this on budgeting at home far exceeds what that education you get at school. Then we go transportation. That goes in the liabilities column because your vehicles, they depreciate rapidly. But of course, you have to service and maintain the vehicles, so transportation would do with that. Then I always put in here also giving to your elderly parents. Now, if you have parents who are, they're no longer working and they're up in age, or even if they're working and, they might be down on their luck, or even if they're not down on their luck, they should be in on your budget. So set out a dollar amount. I put that in the liabilities column because you're not expecting any return or anything back on that. Then you have entertainment, and then you put your dollar amount there. Now, those are the ways that some of the things that we must look at in terms of when we are preparing for our financial future. See, the idea is we must take control of our finances and not our finances controlling us. Now, one of the things I always want us to point out and realize that anybody can grow wealth. You see, we have many persons, they go get this fantastic education, get big homes, nice cars, nice clothing, children in all the private and best schools. But you know what? They have a high income, but a low net worth. And your net worth, of course, is your assets minus your liability. So they'll have basically a big, fancy, pretty home. That's all of their net worth, basically. but nothing else. No savings. You know what I'm saying? No investments along the place. So the idea is, hey, do not be in a situation where we are fooled simply because we see persons having all of these things. Then the next thing that tend to keep us in a situation and prevent us from building and growing the wealth like we should is we are too consumer oriented. We're buying cars, we're buying TV. What else we like to buy? Clothes, eating out all the time at the different restaurants, always buying lunch and all these things. We just consuming, taking in, but not regenerating or not being highly productive for our nation so that we can build and set other persons to work and whatever you. So these are things that are taking away from us building our wealth. So this is where having the budget, especially setting those four items, which is savings, tithing, investing, and giving to charity. Those are significant. And remember again, when you set that budget, set it for the year. Put all of those items there and put what the annual amount should be. Then you take then you can take a different sheet of paper or different file on your computer on a different page, and then you put in for months. Then you put in January, February, whatever, however you want to do it. And that way, you'd be in the position to know if someone says to you, hey, how much you spend on grocery a year? You'd be able to say, boom, right? Just look at that budget or recall it from your head. So I want to say, hey, if you were in a situation where you were ignorant and doing it that old way, just scribbling something on the paper, or if you're one of those who just had it in your head, or you might be a person say, I have so many loans, I don't have anything left to even go on budget. You have to start where you are. Now that you know better, you must do better. So, until next time, may the God of heaven and his Son, the Christ, bless and prosper you.